We are continuing our EL84 amplifier series. So the 6BQ5 is the same vacuum tube as EL84. Just one is made in Europe and other is made in the US. They give different names to it, but they are interchangeable. So if you have these power tubes or amplifiers made for them, you can put any of these tubes in those amplifiers. So these amplifiers are such, so any of them can use either of those two tubes. And let's start by answering questions. And one question was about audio note kits. So you can buy the EL84 tube kit, which is like a DIY version of the auto in kit form, and whether it's worth to buy it or not. And I can say that I have not heard yet the EL84 kit version of the audio note, but I have heard their 300B kit version. That was one of my first experiences with very good tube sound, and I can say that their 300B kit has that 300B magic in spades, and it's really a perfect, wonderful amplifier. For the price, it's really delivers quite a punch. And if you wanted to get into tubes and want you to get to that audio note sound, that magical qualities, which is, I would say, magical because it's more than just detail or resolution, but it's substance and very deep emotional connection. Of course, at that introductory level, you are not going to get perfect sound, but you are going to get qualities which you simply do not get with 99.9% of general brands, or I would say general audiophile brands. So their EL84 kits are, I would say, probably a fantastic deal. I looked up Audio Note Kit website, and their prices are between they start at around $1,000, which is a fantastic price, and they have the C-core transformer versions, and also the integrated amplifier version and phono version. The most expensive is $2,500, and forget that you get the C-core output transformers, and you get a built-in phono stage as well. And the great version with the kit version, which is, I would say, an even bigger benefit than buying the full auto version, which is not the kit version, is that you can modify it and you can change it and you can shape it to your taste. So on my channel, I will give you advice on how to modify amplifiers, how to work with them, and you can, these audio note kit amplifiers are perfect for that, that you can change parts in it, because the biggest difference in audio note kits and full audio notes is parts. If so, I would recommend on the AL84 kits to get the one with the C-core output transformers, because that's the closest version to the full audio note amplifiers. And then just go ahead and upgrade the resistors and wiring and the input connectors, the RCA jacks to full audio note ones, and the speaker binding post as well, and then you will get pretty close to a full auto, which is way more, cost way more than the kit, like 4 times more. So, and then with that fully pimped out version of the EL84, you'll get very, very high level sound that's extremely hard to best. And let's go and have a look at another comment that I got from Corey. And I really advise everyone to, when you browse the comment section, look at Corey's post, because he tends to summarize videos and also give sneak previews of what's to come, and it's just a few sentences he manages to sum up what I say in a whole video. So just read his comments. I will read it out now aloud. Sometimes the only difference between high-end and normal gear is parts quality and implementation. Of course, if you build it yourself, the sky is the limit. I would really like to emphasize these words because if there's a successful company and they are making amplifiers which are really coveted, it's not the magic there or the success or the good sound. It doesn't come from a brand name. It's not the secret is not those guys who sit on the board of the company. It's not the accountant who does it. It's not the marketing. When you look at very successful brands and what people want, and those brands that make great sound, or DIYers who make great amplifiers, I wanted to say products, but it's not a product if you build it for yourself, right? It's your baby, it's your brainchild. So the only difference between your brainchild and the unknown amplifiers versus the coveted amplifiers is in most cases is just marketing. So the only thing that a big name has truly nowadays over everything else is just the marketing. If you use the same topology that the big brand name amplifier uses, if you use same quality parts, if you use the same know-how about the layout of your amplifier, how to build it, then you can build same sound quality. Of course, if you know what you are doing, if you use better parts quality than that specific name brand amplifier, you use better layouts, you use better topologies, then you can significantly improve even over really legendary amplifiers. So, and of course, I can say that because I have heard many of the greatest amplifiers, including the Ongaku. And when you say Ongaku, it's not enough to say that I heard the Ongaku. You really need to experience it in an optimized full audio note system. If you hear it outside an optimized system, you are hearing maybe 1% of what it's capable. If you hear it in an optimal system put together by someone who deeply knows audio note, then you get to hear it and experience it. And I got that experience, and I'm comparing that as a baseline for to use with my comparisons. And even with that as a baseline, I have heard amplifiers that are home built which can compete with it, and even I had some which offered even greater experiences than the Ongaku did, because the thing with Ongaku is that it's not just about parts of the sound. So when you think about high-end amplifiers, and when we think about it, we always describe them like, does it have higher detail level, better dynamics, better black levels? So we always think about these technical parameters. But what we truly ignore, and what the reviewers truly do not emphasize, is the most important part, is that all of these parameters, they come together to give you an experience. And sometimes there are products which give you like extremely high resolution, like great bass or whatever, but the end result does not gel together. It doesn't give you that experience. So that's why a lot of people who buy like $1 million system or something like that, in the beginning they listen to it, and then after even just as short period as a month or two, they just barely get turned on. And that's because if you go to a show or you go to a dealer and they have it turned on for you and they put on those special recordings which they are optimized to play, and then you'll get a wow factor by the dozens. But then if you live with it, if you put your music on it, then there's just something missing and you have no idea what, you cannot grasp it. And we always think that we are needing more details, more. But no, you don't need more. What you need is that whole experience. You need the audio gear to make sense out of music for you. And that's what Audionaut does. And they are, I would say, if I have to recommend a brand or a commercial solution, there's only three I can recommend. I can recommend Audionaut as a full solution. All of the full Audionaut systems I heard can provide that experience. Even the cheapest system can do it. But as you go towards the Ongaku level, then there's less and less so-called colorations that we would bicker about as audiophiles, that this doesn't sound entirely neutral. It's not perfectly like the real thing. Of course, for a few $1,000s, how can you expect it to sound perfectly like a real thing? No, it won't. But what it can do, even at an entry level, is give you that deep immersion into the world of music, the world of sound. And I think my experience is that the introductory level Audionauts, they can give you a very deep immersion to electronic music, to pop music, something that most commercial and most very expensive high-end utterly fail to do. It's a major fail. So if you love pop, rock, stuff like that, then Audionaut kits are your best choices. And what the Ongaku can do that the introductory level Audionauts are not so good as is play classical music, because that's really the hardest to give back. But I would say even for classical music, what I heard, the Audionaut 300B kit, it's absolutely fantastic for classical music. EL84 is more the pop tube. However, it still has a lot of colorations, and if you are those people who like solid state sound, you will not like that coloration. But when you get to the Ongaku level, then these colorations go away. Yet you get the deep immersion, that experience. So now let's have a look at the second part of Corey's answer. Is I totally agree on 6BQ5EL84. They are within an inch of equaling true triodes for output tubes. I totally agree with this. He said it beautifully, is that they are really close to true triodes. And plus, you can run them in pentode as designed with a flick of a switch and get more power, dynamics, very versatile. This is something amazing that you can do with the EL84. And if you get a commercial amplifier, only very few of them have this switch, the pentode triode switch. If you build it for yourself or you build a kit, then you can easily put a switch in it. Of course, you can put a switch in commercial amplifiers as well, but then you are voiding your warranty, and maybe there's not enough space for a switch in those amplifiers, so be warned about that. This is extremely important, and that's one reason why I love the EL84 and a lot of other pentodes that you can use um, for audio, because you can install a triode switch and literally you can just hit a switch and change between triode modes and pentode modes. So what does that do? Let's get back to our blackboard. So right now I'm not talking about more of these amplifiers. We have talked about the audio node kits, and now about the EL84. So Corey mentioned that they are within an inch of two triodes, and that's totally true. So what does that mean? That means that they have very high musicality. So they are not just playing details or resolution for you, but they're playing music. And why is that happening? I think that's partially because this vacuum tube was designed with in such a way, I don't know if it was deliberate or was it luck, that it's more capable of rendering music than most of other pentodes. Or it can be also that we are preconditioned to like this tube, because 6BQ5 EL84, for example, they were used in the guitar amps of the Beatles, but you would say that so everyone or most of us grew up with that type of sound in our ears, but you would say, well, the guitar amplifiers distort like hell. Yeah, but they do because they have built-in distortion, which is not added into the audio amplifiers. But still, even with the distortion, even for guitar amplifiers, you need a very clear performing vacuum tube first before you add distortion to it. If you have a poor quality device that is not linear, that has its own peculiar problems, and you add the distorted guitar sound to it, it will not sound nice. Yes, it will be a distorted guitar, but not as good as you can get. And that's why musicians go totally nuts about their choices of guitar amplifiers, because they are looking for a peculiar sound, something in the sound that has it. And the EL84 guitar amps have them by the bucket loads. And it was a problem for the Beatles that when they started growing and they needed more power, then EL84 was not enough for a big stadium, and they needed to upgrade, and they found that the bigger power amplifiers just do not have that kind of sound. And that's why some of the early Beatles concerts, they when they were in this growth phase, they were kind of disappointing for people who visited them, because they were not loud enough for people to hear. So that's one interesting thing. So what is this thing about triode mode and pentode mode? So these tubes are pentodes. However, we can also use them in triode mode. And of course, with every vacuum tube, you can use them in two different ways of getting power out of the tube. Or one is the single-ended method and the other is push-pull. So in a single-ended, I will have a different video that talks about what's the difference between the two. So for right now, let's just have a look at the power output this tube has in single-ended mode. In pentode mode, you can get up to about 5 watts from a tube, and in triode mode, you get out about 2 watts from the tube. And what's the difference between them? The difference is that when it's in a triode mode, it sounds more like a triode, a true triode, and more like single-handed designs. Even if it's in push-pull, it has a deeper sound stage and better harmonic content. So if you are listening to a Schubert octet, for example, it will it will sound, I would say the wooden instruments sound more lifelike, but instruments that have wooden bodies. You can feel the wood of the instrument. So if you are a person who need to hear the wooden quality of your instruments, then triode mode is for you. And in pentode mode, it really sounds much more dynamic. The sound stage is wider but shallower compared to the triode mode, and you have much less of that harmonic content, so you do not get the body of the instruments. It's like the double bass is shrinking, because, and it's not because there is a compression or anything, but it's because you are not hearing the wooden body of the double bass, but you are hearing the strings more. So basically what you are getting are two very different perspectives on reproducing music, and it sounds really like two very different amplifiers. And I just cannot emphasize how important that is. And that's because many of us audiophiles have systems that we truly love, but we keep on reading reviews and advice, and you hear your friend's system and it has something that your system doesn't have, and you have the desire to just experience different sound from time to time. And when you have this option to flick the switch, then you basically have two quite different amplifiers, and you can just choose between flicking the switch. So I have several pentode tube amplifiers, and I always install a switch in them to be able to change between triode mode and pentode mode. And it depends. Sometimes I feel like I want to listen to pentode mode, and other times I feel I want to listen to triode mode. And usually for me, if for example I want to listen to small scale classical music, or maybe guitar music or lute, I often hit the triode mode. And if I want to rock out for a Cranberries concert, then yes, let's bring on the pentode mode. There's also another option. It's called the ultralinear mode, which is gives you a sound that's in between the two, a little bit closer to the pentode sound, and that one requires a special transformer. So either your transformer is wired to have ultralinear mode or not. So in that case, if it can use ultralinear, then you will have the option to switch between triode mode and ultralinear. And also, if you if you have an amp that has parallel tube, so it has two tubes in parallel, like the Audionaut Auto, then you get double the power. So instead of 5 watts in pentode mode, you get 10 watts in pentode mode. So that's how the Audionaut Auto does it. However, and they do that to get to make the amplifier drive more speakers. However, the price for that is less focus and less clarity. So basically, if you use a single tube, you get better focus, clearer sound, but you are more limited with your speaker choices. You essentially need to go with a high efficiency route for a single tube solution to get the best out of it. And if you have a parallel tube version, then a lot of options are there for you. and most commercial amplifiers will be available. And now let's look at the push-pull topology, and we are just pushing 25 minutes, so let's have a look at this at the next video. So right now let's jump to the end. Thank you for joining in, and please like and subscribe. Liking is absolutely vital. If you do not like, then YouTube doesn't show videos to new people and the channel doesn't grow at all. For me, that's fine because I'm not getting any benefit out of it. My only benefit is your company, your comments. What I get is that I can teach people about audio. And if you don't like, then it's not going to happen. So thank you for joining in. Bye bye.